It is just an amazing journey. And tonight's game, like I mentioned with Tua, his journey, and that's what I love about journeys. Joe Burrow's journey from the state of Ohio, where his whole journey, and yours is incredible. Do you ever sit back and think, man, I can't believe I did that? Do you ever sit back?
Well, it's not only that, Rich. It's the forks in the road where you don't really have a choice. When Doug Scoville turned to me as a freshman in college. He was the offensive coordinator at BYU at the time, and he didn't know my name, and he didn't really know, he hadn't really recruited me. And by November, he knew my name, and he said, he called me he's like, "Hey, Young, come over here." I go over there, and he goes, "Hey, by the way, I don't coach lefties." And you're like, all right, well, I guess that's the end of my quarterbacking career at BYU. And luckily, he left 2 months later for a head coaching job at San Diego State. And so that gave me the opportunity. Ted Tollner came in, and then the rest is history. But it's like those binary moments, right, where he wasn't going to coach a lefty, that would have been the end. It's like there's probably 20 of those where, if it doesn't go the right way, no matter how you feel about it, things aren't going to get worked out. And so anyway, you look back on the journey. You don't want to go back there, Rich, because you're like, wow, that is crazy. I can't believe all the things that happened. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the. Then you start to say how grateful you are for all the people that were the kind of angels along the way that kind of pushed you in a direction. The coaches, just the friends and people that kind of moved you along and kept you, and then also kept you from problems and kept you out of trouble and all that stuff. You look back on when these kind of moments when you want to start from the end. I completely agree with how much it's kind of overwhelming to think about.
Yeah, I mean, very rarely when I'm reading a script that NFL Films gives me for anything, let alone NFL icons, Steve, I'm wondering if there's a typo on it. What were you on the depth chart at BYU at one point? Where were you?
8th string. Rich, remember in 1980, it's the only they and maybe Stanford a little bit, and University of Florida, Miami, Florida. They were the only schools that threw the ball, and were getting guys kind of ready, quote, ready for the pros. Everyone else is running the wishbone, split up severe option, some version of, kind of a option game. And so I had this crazy dream that I wanted to play pro football. I wanted to throw it in college. And so BYU was the place to be, and they had, who knew? There were 8 other guys who also felt the same way at that time. And I was eighth because I don't know if it was alphabetical. First I thought, oh, this must be alphabetical. That's why I'm 8th. And then I find out, no, it's legit. It's straight up legit. And all the names are still in my mind, all the guys in front of me. And by the time Ted Tollner showed up in the wintertime, and I was working with Tom Homo playing safety because they moved me because they couldn't coach a lefty. And then when he showed up and said, "Why are you working out the defense? Because you're throwing the ball really well." I'm like, "Because I'm lefty." He's like, "Well, that's stupid." And then so then spring ball, he convinced Lavelle Edwards, the head coach, to say, "Look, let's give Steve Young a couple weeks and let's see what happens." And by the end of the couple weeks, I was backing up Jim McMahon as a incoming sophomore. So
what a story, man! And then how did you get walk me through Steve Young to your drafting professionally and what happened with the separate leagues at the time and how that all worked out for you.
Well, it's fun. I mean, the USFL became that year, all the owners, they got the chutzpah, they realized that they were entrenched. They had the attendance, they had the TV, they were a league and they could make it. And so then they went to the next thing is to try to get the seniors in college, the incoming draft class, and that's when they went. Memphis Showboats signed Reggie White and Herschel Walker, and I basically got recruited by Don Klosterman. I know, Rich, I don't know if you remember Don Klosterman, who was the GM of the Rams for years under Carol Rosenblum, and so he had left the Rams and was now running the LA Express, and with Sid Gilman, and Sid Gilman was, he must have been 70 years old at that time, 75 years old, but he was the one that Coach John Hadel, and he was the West Coast offense. He was the roots of Bill Walsh's West Coast offense. So those guys are recruiting me. And the other side is the Cincinnati Bengals are the first pick, Sam Weiss. And obviously it's just a much different environment. And he said, look, come to L.A., Manhattan Beach Elementary School. Here's all these young players. We have Gary Zimmerman. Well, Gary Zimmerman ended up being a Pro Football Hall of Famer out of Oregon. JoJo Townsend. We had a bunch of guys, and you're going to play right away and have fun. So I did it. I decided that, and Reggie White and I had become close friends at the Hula Bowl and the All-Star game. And my dad helped him find an agent. We were close. And when he went to the Memphis Showboats, he gave me the ability to say, you can go to this league, it's going to be okay. So that's what I did.